Welcome to the live demo of the Impact Investing Network Map, and thank you for joining us. My name is Rahana Nathu, and I lead the impact investing efforts here at the Case Foundation. We will use the next hour to share our objectives for the network map, go through a demonstration, and offer some ways that you can get involved in our beta. We also hope to answer some of your questions and invite you to be a part of this journey. Please note that all users will be muted during the demo. If you would like to ask a question, please use the Q&A function to type in your questions. We will also be recording this webinar, and it will be sent out with more information on how to access the network map following this webinar. At the end, we'll answer your questions and provide you with a way to get in touch for more information. We encourage you to provide feedback by visiting the network map and completing the in-tool survey. If you're interested in being part of our active testing group, please complete the full in-tool survey and add your email address as requested, and we'll happily contact you. We'd like to start by telling you a little bit about why we started the network map. Our network map journey started almost 2.5 years ago at the Milken Global Conference. At Milken, our CEO, Gene Case, led a conversation around how impact investing is increasingly being seen as a collaborative solution, one that will bring new capital and talent to the social sector. But we are also hearing some fairly consistent feedback from investors, entrepreneurs, and intermediaries. Specifically, that it was hard to find evidence or concrete examples of exactly what impact investing looks like. Since we started in this field many years ago, we've always referenced our impact investing approach as a movement from inspiration to activation. But at Milken and conferences across the globe, in conversations across the ecosystem, people were ready to activate. To answer the question around what the ecosystem truly looks like, we began building a tool that showcases publicly available information. Information that is based on transactions between investors and companies within impact investing. We believe that by bringing the connections between actors to life, looking specifically at the investments that connect them, we can foster a better understanding of the size, breadth, depth, and importantly, enormous potential of this field. But that vision is part of a deeper desire to change behavior. We hope that the network map will spur investors and companies to share information around their activities and make transparency a hallmark of the impact investing sector. Through the beta process, we know that the network map faces some real challenges, but we hope that you will be instrumental in helping us solve them. The network map is predicated on publicly available data that demonstrates historical transactions. The data comes directly from our two data partners, ImpactSpace and Crunchbase. At the outset of this endeavor, we understood the challenge we would face together. That while publicly available data offers transparency, there would be gaps around completeness and accuracy. We have all seen these information gaps firsthand. With your participation in the network map, either as a user, tester, or data provider, we truly believe that you can help shape the path forward. It is our hope that these dialogues, alongside our partners and peers, can continue to create a community of actors committed to changing the culture around disclosure and transparency. Simply put, together we will be able to fill those gaps. So here's what we're trying to do. Number 1, begin to test the tool and explore its functionality. Number 2, create a forum to spotlight the value and challenges of publicly available data. And number 3, encourage you, the user, to join and submit your data to help grow the utility of this tool. So let's get to it. When you visit the tool, you'll first be directed to the network map homepage. Before proceeding into the tool, you will see a disclaimer that makes clear some important details. The network map is not a due diligence tool, nor does it provide deal sourcing or matching capabilities. The information reflected here does not indicate endorsement or recommendation of particular investments, companies, or investors. From this page, you can explore the two primary functionalities of the tool, the map view and the Insights page. We will explore both together, so let's start with the map itself. You can access the map by clicking here, Explore the Network Map. When you access the map view, you will have the option to take a guided tour. Feel free to skip the tour if you are already familiar with the platform or are already ready to explore. Let me provide a little background around the data that is represented here. In the beta version, the Impact Investing Network Map displays the companies, investors, and funds that appear in the Impact Space database. We also use some information, including financial data, from Crunchbase as a secondary data source. Impact Space, our primary data partner for the beta version, is committed to collecting and making publicly available the most up-to-date and accurate information on impact investments. Through our data partnership, Impact Space's data is reflected here in the network map view. Impact Space gathers its data by scraping websites, press releases, competition sites, venture websites, investor portfolios, and other publicly available impact-oriented sources. To submit your data and to learn more about Impact Space's methodology, you can visit their website at www.impactspace.com. When you access the network map, you will be greeted by the company view. The company view is our default view and shows you the companies listed in Impact Space, represented by green dots. Investors are represented by blue dots. The gray lines connecting the two indicate that a transaction has occurred. We refer to companies as all organizations, for-profit and nonprofit, that have a social mission and have raised or intend to raise capital. For investors in the dataset, we refer to all organizations that participate in a company's fundraising rounds, including capital providers, capital channels, and intermediaries. You'll see that there are some green dots on the periphery of the network map that are not connected to any blue dots. These represent data points where we have company information, but we do not currently have any investment information connecting them to investors. The presence of a transaction is an important part of the network map. It indicates a relationship between two entities, an investor and a company, and it allows users to begin to understand the interconnectedness of the impact investing ecosystem. From this view, there are two ways you can drill into the network map: by searching for a specific company or investor, or using the filters on the left-hand side. We'd like to show you the type of data we feature for each company or investor, so we'll start with the specific search. But we'll follow that with a close look at how the filters can help you narrow in on the results you're looking for. Let's start with the specific search. As an example, let's use Delight Design, a global solar energy provider active in Africa, China, South Asia, and the United States. From the company view of the network map, I type in Delight Design into the search bar. You'll see the network map zoom in to show you Delight Design and its immediate connections. You can use the zoom toggle on the bottom left-hand side to change your perspective of the network map. On the right side, you will see a profile page with two tabs. We'll briefly take you through each. We'll start with the Overview tab. You'll see a few pieces of information on this page provided by our data partners. Depending on the data disclosed for each entity, you can gain insight into the year the company was founded, its legal structure, mission statement, description, and other key resources. Where possible, some profiles will have links directly to external sources and resources. These links are an important part of the network map's functionality. The network map is not a diligence tool. We encourage users to use the network map as an informational aid and go directly to the sources listed to verify and confirm information. The second tab features funding details. Let's explore this. Under funding details, users can see a snapshot of completed transaction information. The information provided comes directly from ImpactSpace as our primary data partner. Where there is no funding information in ImpactSpace's data, we use Crunchbase data as our secondary source. In each transaction entry, you can see the investor name, date of the investment, round type participated in, and the total round amount. The total round amount indicates the full and total amount of the round that this specific investor participated in. It does not reflect the investment amount of that specific funder. By demonstrating this type of information, it is our hope that the network map users begin to better understand where the relationships between investors and companies exist. Let's imagine that you are a budding renewable energy entrepreneur. You are looking at Delight as an example of the type of enterprise you want to create. By accessing the company view of the network map, you get a sense of Delight's purpose through the Overview tab. But you can also begin to understand which investors have invested in Delight through the Funding tab. You might receive better clarity into potential funders, thought leaders, or innovators looking to solve the same problems that you're interested in solving. Based on historical data, and depending on what the company or investor has disclosed, you can also get a sense of fundraising history, company growth, and potential investors. From the funding detail view, you can also click directly on one of the funders. In the funder view, you can see the same types of information as we did on the company profile page. Under funding details, you can also begin to see the portfolio companies of that particular investor based on what has been disclosed. For some entities across both companies and investors, differing amounts of information appear based on what that company or investor chooses to share. Understanding who has received investment and how much might provide some insight into how other field builders are funding solutions in the space. Over time, this could create opportunities for investors to better identify their peers and understand where they have invested. Now that we've completed a specific search, let's explore the other way the map view can be used, through the filters. Let's say that you are familiar with impact investing and have a good sense of the themes, geographies, or even objectives around how you want to engage. But you don't have specific examples in mind. You can use the filters on the left-hand side of the map view to express these preferences and narrow down your search results. We will briefly go through the filters so that you can see the range of information that you can search by. We'll start with the impact objectives. Once you expand the list, you will see a full set of objectives across environmental, social, and governance, or ESG indicators. The list was derived from the Global Impact Investing Network's IRIS taxonomy, with a few important modifications. We added an objective around women and girls. The objective around quality and empowerment now includes minorities and previously excluded populations. Low-income country is a World Bank category that was added to help indicate a specific geographic impact focus of a company or investor. Throughout the process of building the network map, we have been particularly focused on not reinventing the wheel. Many organizations have been working hard over the last several years to create taxonomies and frameworks that standardize how we codify and measure impact. IRIS, GEARS, and many others are some examples of different approaches to this. For example, we're seeing a real-time effort on the part of the impact investing community to understand how we might track impact across the SDGs. With the objective of standardization and education of new users, we elected to use the IRIS taxonomy as a widely used framework to help guide how we reference impact. One of the things that we are hoping to test during our current campaign is whether users resonate with this framework and how we can continue to improve. For those users who are unfamiliar with language around objectives, we also wanted to create an industry-based search function. This list of industry types mirrors a standard industry list. The value of a standard industry classification is that companies can identify themselves by industry, independent of objectives. For example, a renewable energy distributor would be listed in the energy industry, but could also have impact objectives around community development or employment generation. We also have a geographic filter. A geographic taxonomy is featured to allow users to search impact investing activity by country. Each country is classified under the appropriate continent. During the course of the campaign, we are actively exploring other taxonomies to understand how best to sort and filter by geography. We also include a filter around fundraising. One of the critical pieces of feedback we heard while building the network map was from new investors who already knew what round they wanted to participate in based on their size, risk appetite, and return expectations. For many of these investors, a streamlined search capability based on the fundraising round would help them understand how completed investments have been organized based on volume and type of capital. To do this, we've narrowed in on 4 types of rounds, from seed to Series C and beyond. Investors and companies alike can use this filter to select the types of completed transaction they want to view by type of round raised. By selecting one of these categories, and based on the company or investor view selected, the network map will narrow in on entities that have raised or deployed that particular round type. Over the last year or so, we've also heard increasing interest from the investor community to understand how various legal structures are being pursued by companies. The rise of C-Corps, benefit corporations, and other structures suggests that organizations are finding new ways to organize. And this means they can and will attract different types of capital, offering a different set of investors an opportunity to get involved, with varying incentives for that investment. The same could be said for investors with similar innovative legal structures. So by offering these set of filters, we're eager to understand what types of companies investors are looking for, and vice versa, and where the field might be moving. Similarly, there are a range of certifications that some companies hold, which inform the types of investors that may be interested. The growing popularity of the B Corp certification, for example, allows us to signal rigor in evaluation and the explicit commitment of a company to a set of standards. For some impact investing actors, this is a key filtering criteria. As mentioned earlier, we do not want to reinvent the wheel. Acknowledging and spotlighting the work of other partners in the space to create standards within this industry and allow users to filter according to them is a key component of how we hope the network map adds value. Under mechanism, there are a variety of investment structures that exist within impact investing. Program-related investments, or PRIs, and mission-related investments, or MRIs, are two such examples. In the last 2 years in the United States alone, regulatory guidance has been issued to help clarify how and when these mechanisms can be used. This has been in response to increasing demand by investors. As more foundations and endowment investors look to explore these tools, their ability to understand the extent to which PRIs and MRIs have been used in the past could be helpful. We also want to ensure that we maintain, as much as is possible, the conventional filtering criteria of other investment-like platforms. That meant creating filters around asset classes and other vehicles, like grants. This filter allows users to sort transactions by the vehicle used. A reminder that this filter and others such as mechanism and fundraising round are only reflected when users choose to disclose this information in their individual data entries. We have also heard a wide-ranging debate on the right language to express structures and asset classes. We're hoping to hear from all of you during the campaign to understand what labeling works for you and where we should embrace new ways of organizing this data. Let's put this into practice. Let's say I was interested in access to education in the United States. By selecting these filters, I can zero in on the companies that have disclosed access to education as an impact objective and the US as a place within which they'd like to work. Remember that the information reflected here changes based on whether you are in the company view or the investor view. Let's take a moment for any questions on the network map view before we delve into the Insights page. Please send us your questions through the Q&A function, and we'd be happy to address them. We will also ask for questions at the end of the webinar. The first question we've received is a pretty important 101 question, and that's how we define impact investment to warrant a spot on the map. One of the best parts about this project is our partnership with ImpactSpace. ImpactSpace uses the sources I mentioned earlier to scrub publicly available resources to determine who should be involved in the map. For information on ImpactSpace's methodology, including what they consider impact, please visit their site at www.impactspace.com. We also got a really good question around latitudinal and longitudinal information added to each entity, and whether they can be plotted on the whole network map as a geographic map. This has been a popular piece of feedback. While currently the map is not organized around geography, we've heard from users that a geographic focus would be incredibly helpful. It's one of the areas that we intend to explore after the beta version. We've also received information on whether this information can be exported to Excel. From the network map, this is not possible. We will now move on to the Insights page, but don't worry, we will take more questions at the end of the webinar. We designed the Insights page in the hopes of offering real-time analytics on the data featured in the network map, and we have deeply benefited from our partnership with the University of Chicago to create this framework. The network map pulls in newly submitted, updated, or reviewed data from ImpactSpace on a weekly basis. But alongside the ability to see more of the activity across the impact investing landscape, we wanted to translate the data into insights for our community of users. Organizations like the GIN, Cambridge Associates, and Wharton Social Impact Investing Initiative, among many others, have been hard at work to distill data across the industry. Unlike our peers mentioned, however, the insights reflected here do not provide findings across the entire impact investing landscape. This is primarily because the data featured here is not comprehensive. It reflects only the data from our current sample set. But for the data we have in the Impact Investing Network Map, these insights can be valuable. Throughout the process of pulling together these insights, we were most excited by the opportunity to address a consistent challenge: the gaps. Identifying the holes in our data further emphasizes the value that disclosure can bring. Even for actors that are only able to divulge a few pieces of information, like legal structure of their company or impact objectives, there's a lot that can be learned from reporting out on that activity. We hope to get to a point where the Insights page is truly reflective of the industry. But this will only happen with substantially more data, disclosure, and feedback. With the Insights page, we have some tactical examples of what early network map data can show. And we're able to see the potential for the Insights page with a more complete and robust data set in the future. Here's one example of the type of data we could track. As the data continues to be refreshed in the network map, we could eventually have insights into the number of investments that have been made. Or we could understand the types of legal structures for companies or investors based on the amount of investment received. Under impact objectives, we could start to generate insights into a couple of key things. For example, the number of impact objectives that a company or investor chooses. Or we could generate insights into which objectives have the most actors developing or funding solutions. This could also indicate to investors which objectives are growing the quickest and which require more investment to truly scale. The same could be said for geography. The number of companies or investors by geography could also shed some light on where activity is increasing and where the opportunity for more investment exists. Finally, over time, we could generate better insights into the amount of investment capital deployed and the types of investments that are made. The ability to track both the quantity of investments by round and the total investment amount by round could potentially inform us of investor preferences around risk, liquidity, and return. We'd also like to draw your attention to some other pages in the network map that we hope you will explore. In the About page, you can discover more about why we started this project and what we hope to achieve. You can also read more about our data policy and use, and go directly to our data partner, ImpactSpace, to understand their methodology and collection processes. In the glossary, we've provided definitions around a host of impact investing terms, as well as the impact objectives listed in the filtering tool. If you have recommendations on other terms you've encountered on the site that should be added to the glossary, please let us know. The FAQs provide insights into the questions we most often receive, and also guide you on next steps if you'd like to be a beta tester or submit your data directly to ImpactSpace. We encourage you to visit the FAQs while you continue to explore the network map for your most immediate questions. And now we'd love to hear from you. We've got a flurry of questions coming in, and we encourage you to send more using the Q&A function. We got a great question on target users, and we're glad that you asked. The network map is intended for a variety of different actors across the impact investing space. We're hoping that investors, entrepreneurs, and intermediaries use this tool. But we've also heard from some unlikely suspects, like wealth advisors, high net worth families, family offices, and some institutional investors. The value of an informational tool is to accelerate everyone's learning in impact investing. So if you are looking for more information on historical data and impact investing, we hope this tool is for you. You can also sign up to be an active user using the buttons on the top right corner of the network map. You can give us more input on who you think should be an active user and who you think we should target. We got a great question around intentions to integrate and work with the general public and how that might influence individual behavior and create maximum impact. We're hoping that the network map is a tool not just for those that are deeply engaged in impact investing, but also those that are learning to understand where capital is being used effectively for social change. If you have any ideas on how we can position this tool for a more general audience, we'd love to hear them. As we start with beta, we've been thinking particularly about those somewhat aware of impact investing. But we know that truly to scale the field, this work needs to reach all. So please send us any information you have using the Get in Touch button on the network map. We also received a great question on geography, and the question specifically was whether you can filter within states in the United States. This is one of the questions that we have been exploring. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been thinking about exactly what kind of framework really supports easy filtering by location. We haven't figured it out just yet, but it's top of mind. At present, the network map will not let you filter by states, but it's one of the areas that we're looking to pursue further. As it relates to the Insights page, we also got a question on whether we can show changes in data over time. Originally, when we started this project, we thought a lot about the ability to do that by deriving trends. While we do not currently have enough data in the impact investing network map to do this, this has absolutely been one of our targets over time. With more data submitted to the map, we will have more chance of being able to pull longitudinal data. On sharing, we received a question about how traditional investors will share and whether it's possible. One of the things that we've experimented with, and an area where we deeply need your feedback, is who the impact investing network map is for. We've heard from a variety of impact investing actors, particularly investors, that work with private capital that have expressed deep interest in the value of the information the network map conveys. But we've also heard from a host of investors who simply are not able to share the types of data that we're asking for. This is why we have illuminated different sets of data around impact investing. Even if investors only disclose the name of a company, or the size, or the date it was founded, that's incredibly valuable for us to really and truly map the impact investing landscape. But we also know that for the subset of investors that need to continue to do their work with the right amount of disclosure or lack thereof, this is important too. And so focusing on historical and completed transactions helps to make this a little easier. But for those that cannot, we ask that you share the tool so that all networks of impact investing users at least know that there is an effort to change the culture around transparency and disclosure. We got a great question on what qualities or capabilities we're looking for with future data. This is a good question. Impact Space creates a framework where you can submit multiple data points. By providing a mission statement in your impact profile on Impact Space, we're also encouraging users to be more intentional with the impact that they want to have. Intentionality also happens to be a big part of the Case Foundation definition on impact investing. Companies and investors that have an intentional mission and feel that they can fit within some of the profile criteria on the network map are welcome to submit their data through Impact Space. Even if you're unsure, submit it anyway. We also got a question on whether mission-focused nonprofits are considered companies, and whether this means that all nonprofits that support access to education would necessarily pop up. Let's answer that in two parts. Nonprofits are included in the company view of the network map. The decision on whether all nonprofits that support access to education would pop up depends on two things. One, if they've submitted their information into Impact Space, and two, whether they have identified objectives under access to education. Part of the benefit of the network map is that we are changing the culture around disclosure from the company and investor. If a company or investor considers themselves to be impact, we want to hear from you. As you fill out your profile in Impact Space, please keep this in mind. We also got a question on whether traditional VCs will be included if they only have one deal in social venture, but most deals elsewhere. This is an important question, and a lot of it depends on how the investor submits their profile in Impact Space. If there is an impact-oriented mission, even if it's one investment, we want to hear from you. The company can also report that data directly to Impact Space. So if you are a recipient of traditional venture capital and you have a social mission, input your data into Impact Space and it will be drawn into the Impact Investing Network map. We're going to do another call for questions just in case any folks are interested. We've gotten some great ones so far, a couple of repeats so you can hear some frantic note writing in the background. We got a question on whether we collect intermediary information or just companies and investors. This is a good question. As you explore the network map, you will notice a lot of accelerating platforms and incubators in the network map. We also provide a filtering criteria around prizes and challenges. Intermediaries are an important part of the impact investing space and often provide a critical function in connecting suppliers of capital with demanders of capital. We'd also like to hear from you. In our frequently asked questions, you have an opportunity to do a bulk upload to Impact Space, and we have information there on how you can submit a large amount of data directly to Impact Space. We had a question on whether individual angel investors were part of the map or institutions only. Individual investors are a part of the map. We've got more questions coming. We're frantically writing. We also had a wonderful question about whether foundations are considered investors if mission-driven nonprofits are considered applicable projects. Many foundations you will see in the map have grants or program-related investments that are tagged as impact investments. We're hoping to collect even more of that information. In the early days of our campaign, quite a few courageous peers have already committed to submitting their program-related investments into the map and cleaning up that data. Again, if you are a recipient of impact capital, go to Impact Space and submit your own information. We will make sure that it gets drawn into the map, and over time, the network of funders and funding recipients will become even more robust. We had a question on what long-term success looks like in our impact investing strategy, and even more specifically, the network map. We're glad you asked. Across impact investing, we know that the field will only be as prominent as we hope for it to be, with large amounts of capital flowing to the sector. As we stated at the start of this webinar, a lot of what we had been hearing from the field was a lack of understanding on how. Passion for impact investing is important, but what we want to see are the allocations that create a robust and sizable market. By bringing down the walls around information disclosure and changing the culture on how we report, we're hoping to create access to impact investing that is truly democratized. We're hoping that over time, this amount of information onboards more people into impact investing seamlessly. For the network map, we are particularly interested in understanding how this tool has value add to each and every single one of you. Over the course of the campaign, which we'll talk a little bit about shortly, we're hoping to really understand not just where the map can be used, but what we need to do to make it more robust. We're also looking to expand the functionalities of the Impact Investing Network Map. If you would like to be a partner in that cause, have a large set of data, or good ideas on how to take this to the next level, please get in touch. We had a question on whether there is tracking of investment information in women and minority-owned companies. Great question, and absolutely. Under the impact objective filter of the network map, both of these categories can be tracked. We also had a question on whether investors have to have active or historical investments to be included, or whether they just self-identify. Great question. The Impact Investing Network Map is particularly focused on closed and completed transactions. For this information, historical information is critical to us. Part of the reason we focus on completed transactions is to ensure that the network map is not a deal matching or making platform. However, the impact space process requires quite a bit of self-identification. If you're in doubt, we encourage you to go to the Impact Space website at impactspace.com and submit your data. Our partners at Impact Space are working hard to look at data, verify data, and make sure that it is reflected on the network map. We have about another 5 minutes left for questions, and then we'd love to tell you about how you can get involved. If you have any questions for us, you can submit them now, or shortly following this webinar, we'll make sure that you have access directly to us for any additional questions. We also got a great question on whether we showcase any exit-related or performance-related information for investments. This is particularly top of mind. At present, the network map does not report out on performance, including exit performance. But this doesn't necessarily mean that that's not a way that the tool needs to go in the future. To get us started and to truly change the behavior around transparency and disclosure, showcasing information was a particular point of order. Over time, we know that performance is critical to making the case for impact investing. Many of our peers in the space have already started to do this. And so we hope to look to the future to partner with some of these entities to figure out a way that performance and measurement can responsibly be reported on tools such as the network map. We had a great question on whether there are local ecosystem maps, either in communities, states, or even country by country. As we started the network map journey, we spent a lot of time going to school on what maps actually exist out there. We were happy to report that it took a long time to sift through all of the great mapping exercises across the globe. We have a couple of resources that you can go to understand a little bit more about other maps that exist. Mapping the Mappers is a great example of a compendium of mapping organizations that are looking to build maps in the areas that they work, either by geography, sector, or by organization. We'll take maybe one more question, and then we'll tell you a little bit about how you can get involved. We know there are many, so we'll give you resources to send more. As you're exploring the network map tool, you will notice two buttons in the top right-hand corner here, Get in Touch and Submit Data. If you would like to share any more feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Please select the Get in Touch button and send us your information so that you can be a part of the future iterations of the network map. We also had a great question about the value of publicly available data, and just wanted to reiterate one of the things that we're trying to do by using this type of data. As mentioned earlier, publicly available data significantly increases transparency around what we can and cannot know. But it has holes, it has gaps. What we're hoping to do with the beta version is change the way we think about using publicly available data, while increasing the volume and amount so that we can have complete data. I think we have one more buzzer question. Because we have a little bit of time, we're going to honor it. This is a great one to end with. Can you use the tool to connect with others? The short answer is no, but we love the enthusiasm. Part of the value of the network map is for you to understand who is out there in the space. On the Overview tab, we connect to some resources where they're made available, so you can go directly to the source. We're hoping over time that with contact information on the profile page or your own research, you get better connected to the folks that you're interested in. So what do we do next? The network map will only be as strong as the data added to it. In order to make informational tools like these valuable to the field, we need to change behavior around responsible disclosure. Sharing activity that the field has been engaged in and encouraging others to provide insights on their experiences to date is a necessary first step to scale. In the last week of July, we officially launched a 60-day network map campaign to begin a targeted effort to gather that feedback and data. Here's how you can get involved. Following this webinar, you will receive a direct link to the Impact Investing Network Map. Explore and engage, and then tell us about it by being a beta tester. While you're exploring the network map, you will see a survey pop up during your experience. Answer all the questions in the survey and provide us with your email address at the end so we can connect you for a more extensive feedback. Submit your data. You can go directly to impactspace.com to submit your own transaction information. You can also submit your data by clicking on the button in the upper right-hand corner of the network map while you're exploring, and this will direct you to ImpactSpace's site. You can share the call to action. Share this work with your network. Encourage others to submit their own data or to be beta testers. You can use the hashtag #ShareYourData to signal your commitment to the movement and motivate others to do the same. We thank you for joining us for the live demo of the Impact Investing Network Map. We encourage you to keep an eye on your email for a link to the network map and a recording of this webinar. Thank you for joining us.